Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the first national webinar to explain in more detail the government's ambition for a work experience guarantee and the work that is happening nationally to ready the system. To start with some housekeeping, we'll be recording this webinar and then publishing on the Careers and Enterprise Company website for open access. Due to the large number of colleagues registered for this event, we'll not be using an open chat function today. The Q&A function will be open to you as participants, and we have a frequently asked questions document which is published on the Careers and Enterprise Company website. Following today's session, we will be cross-referencing the questions and updating the frequently asked questions accordingly. To manage the expectations of our audience this afternoon, the content of this session is designed to be predominantly educator-facing to help head teachers, principals, senior leaders and careers leaders to understand the context of the ambition and to help with preparation and longer term planning. Across the session, you will also hear how Careers and Enterprise Company are working with careers delivery providers, careers hubs and employers to support readying the system for change. You will not hear this afternoon, nor are we able to answer questions currently about school budgets, additional investment to the system, or full timelines for implementation. This information is not yet available, and as described in the statutory guidance, the government will provide further information in the future. With that in mind, it's useful at this stage to make the most of a rare opportunity of the lead time provided by statutory guidance and start planning and shaping future approaches. The Careers and Enterprise Company are working with the government as the delivery partner to support the journey towards the delivery of the ambition. So let's start with the context of the ambition. The purpose of the reform of work experience is to raise the quality and, most importantly, to drive equity for young people, particularly young people who face disadvantage. The statutory guidance issued on the 8th of May 2025 sets out the direction of travel for a work experience guarantee for all learners. It's important to remember that this is currently being piloted and tested across careers hubs, combined authority areas, local authorities, and within 5 multi-academy trusts. There is significant testing underway across the country, and the learning and insights from the piloting and testing are informing full policy development for the future. This learning is being captured by an external research and evaluation company called York Consulting. The guarantee is broken down into 2 key stages, and the intent is to start early. The purpose of this is that pupils access workplaces all the way through their school learning journey. This, of course, needs a significant culture and behaviour shift across the system. Learners tell us frequently that they want to experience multiple different workplaces, understand workplace cultures, and start to funnel choices down from an early age. They want to understand sectors and opportunities that often parents and teachers know nothing about and have no visibility of. Employers want the flexibility and the opportunity to open their doors to young people in ways that enable them to reach more pupils from an earlier age and with approaches that enable them to invite and inspire pupils within the context of their own resources, within the context of the whole calendar year and the size of organisation and their time available. Employers frequently express their keenness for this policy to change the behaviours of educators when considering what good looks like in their work experience offers. The work experience guarantee has flexibility at its heart. The essence of this guidance is benchmark 6 done really well. As you will be aware from the updated Gatsby benchmarks, benchmark 6 now includes multiple, meaningful and progressive workplace experiences. It should be expected that progress should be made over time, with the implementation of the updated benchmarks as the starting point within the work experience guarantee. There is no right way or wrong way to deliver the commitment. My colleague Kelly in a moment will share some curriculum approaches that are currently being developed and tested by schools around the country. However, what is fundamentally important initially is to consider learners in your institutions who are missing out, or those whose needs are not being met sufficiently well with current offers of workplace experiences or traditional work experience. There is deep inequity in the traditional model of work experience. There is too much reliance on parents and individual social capital to attempt to source high quality placements. We know that when schools are the architects of well-structured programmes linked to the curriculum and aligned to school improvement priorities, then these inequalities dissipate. This journey is not one that a sole careers leader can execute on their own. It should be strategically planned for and led by school leaders and curriculum leaders. The modern work experience approach is based on a classic tight, loose improvement model. There are tight parameters around the number of days that are expected for young people to access workplace experiences, and the raising of the quality of work experience by underpinning it with learning outcomes supported by well-tested learner-facing objectives. But the loose flexibility of this model is how it's delivered. This may be as immersive weeks where pupils meet multiple employers in their workplaces. It may be small group visits on undertaking workplace safaris by considering every educational visit as a visit to the workplace, which in turn can explicitly connect the curriculum to workplaces, providing relevance and purpose to curriculum subjects for young people. Or indeed, this could be delivered through traditional placements, be they placements of one day or 1 week. The current focus on work experience and its solutions are focusing in on pre-16 learners. So the 10-day guarantee is to be run across years 7 to 11. There is no explicit requirement for this to be 2 days in every year, those 5 years. This can be arranged as appropriate to your cohorts and your communities and your employers. Work experience in year 12 or beyond should continue to be informed by the 16 to 19 study programme requirements as determined by the ESFA. Just before I hand over to my colleagues for some additional context, I'm keen to outline some of the key principles which are underpinning the government vision. There is some confusion in the system about what counts towards the guarantee. Your steer here is simple. Stick to the definitions of meaningful which have been outlined by Gatsby in the updated benchmark report. For the first time, Gatsby have included a definition of benchmark 6. It's important to note that benchmark 5 and 6 are distinct and different. However, with that in mind, it's still possible to run a programme which over a number of days meets the requirements of benchmarks 4, 5, 6 and 7 through a series of linked activities. In those instances, it requires you using your professional judgment as to how many days of the guarantee would actually have been met in the context of young people going to work and accessing the workplace as an experience itself. There are many examples emerging, excellent examples emerging of what works and what good looks like. And we will be sharing these examples with you over the course of the next year and continually across that year. I'm now going to hand over to my colleague Kelly, who will talk to you about this in action in education.
Thanks, Nicola. Hello all, I'm going to talk to you about the Equalex framework we have developed at the Careers and Enterprise Company, which is aimed to support you in your work around the modern work experience and how we can ensure that all young people develop the knowledge, skills and behaviours to support them in accessing next steps, whatever that might be. Equalex is an outcome framework encompassing learning objectives to support development of skills for a young person with a specific lens on meaningful workplace experiences. At the heart of Equalex is a drive for quality experiences which enable a young person to be able to have the confidence and knowledge to articulate the skills they have developed in a workplace to support them in their future steps. Equalex supports an equitable curriculum-based approach to ensure that all young people are enabled to gain the skills no matter what their individual circumstances are. Equalex has been developed as a progressive programme spanning 3 key themes as the diagram shows. The Introduce and Inspire theme supports higher volume of activity at a lower depth, enabling awareness and opportunity raising at the beginning of an Equalex journey, which then builds across an indeterminate period of time to deeper activity in the Apply and Demonstrate section. The aim of Equalex is to ensure all young people have the opportunities to work towards and develop the knowledge, skills and behaviours we can see on the next slide, now enabling them to be self-advocating, articulate young people who can evidence workplace behaviours and knowledge and are confident in their future choices. The deeper learning outcomes and objectives, which we can see on the next slide, set out how these knowledge, skills and behaviours can be met. This diagram shows the outer ring learning outcomes that form the Quality Equalex framework, and the framework is intentional and it's designed to be flexible and allow professionals to make judgments on how best to deliver and evidence this based on their young person's needs, enabling this framework to be adopted within all settings, including specialist. As you will notice, Equalex is more than the 10-day guarantee and develops the young person's skills and knowledge to enable them to access those meaningful experiences through a programme that can also deliver activity to support other benchmarks such as benchmark 4, 5, 6 and 7. On this slide, we see the learner level objectives for theme 1, Introduce and Inspire, and the full framework is available now on the Careers and Enterprise Company Resource Directory Equalex page. On the page, you can also find a short video to support planning for Equalex alongside some example models that have been developed by the pilots that Nicola spoke about, and an FAQ document that we will be updating. More resources will be added to the page throughout this academic year to support you in the planning and adoption phase for modern work experience. And we appreciate that for many schools and special schools, models of best practice already exist and many examples that would meet the Equalex framework are being seen across the country. However, the framework enables you to map and evidence this practice in a way that enables the young person to take ownership of their own narrative. I'm now going to talk you through a brief description of some of the models being used across the current pilots to help you to visualise how Equalex might look for you in your setting. As I mentioned previously, more in-depth versions of the models can be found on the Equalex page on the resource directory, and more will be added shortly. But hopefully this will give you a flavour of what modern work experience can look like in practice. Throughout the pilots, we have seen that there are many different ways to approach implementation and adoption of Equalex, really dependent on the setting and the individual circumstance. But key to a successful adoption is that senior leadership team buy-in and a whole setting approach through that distributed careers leadership, which our internal leadership review can support with. The short video on the resource directory Equalex page looks at how this has been achieved in the MAP pilots. So we'll now move on to the models. The first model centres on where we have seen pilots reinvent their curriculum through a different lens. In this example, we have a mainstream trust who are redeveloping a whole Key Stage 3 curriculum approach centred around jobs in 2030 and enabling their students to be ready for what this could look like, including specific activities centred around AI and the changing labour market. A specialist trust who start with their learners as leavers and have built a curriculum for their MLD young people, enabling them to take part in internal experiences through specific job roles within the setting, undertaking activity linked to certain job roles, including they have Catcoat Cooks, which is a classroom catering offer, and Catcoat Creates, which is supporting admin tasks, including filing and printing, seeing the young people support the day-to-day running of the setting wearing uniforms to differentiate between in-classroom learning and their Catcoat crew roles. In Greater Manchester, we've seen Equalex be embedded as an element of the new MBAC model, supporting and adding value to the wider piece around vocational and technical curriculum models. The next slide shows multiple progressive approaches and where we can see activity from Equalex embedded across a 5-year period with specific focus on technical education pathways in the Priory Federation Trust and a wider progressive approach at Catcoat Specialist Trust built around employer-led projects for the learners on a different pathway to that of Catcoat Crew from the previous slide. For some of the schools in the pilot, the model is more about enhancing what's already happening throughout the curriculum, but with a specific focus for a particular group of young people or enrichment activity already planned. In these examples, we can see a spotlight on those at risk of NEET or most disadvantaged, thus levelling the playing field and supporting aspiration raising for some of our most vulnerable young people, to adding intent and purpose behind curriculum drop-down days or enrichment to add value through those experiences. The next example shows how we can build on what might already be there in a traditional Year 10 model and wrap around more immersive activities prior to this to enable that block placement to be delivered with purpose and real meaning for the young person, through exploring in Key Stage 3 their interests and skills to enable them to make a more informed choice about that block placement, to be able to make it linked to their future career options and more purposeful. The last slide shows in more detail a model which links providers, FE options with employer experiences and also teacher encounters, covering the broader benchmarks through the Equalex framework outcomes. And the aim of these examples is to showcase the many different approaches that can be taken, and there are many more that we see, to deliver quality through the framework from an education perspective. And hopefully we have highlighted some options that might work for you and enabled you to see activity you already deliver that can support this work. I'm now going to hand over to Cam, who's going to talk to you further about some of the other stakeholders we are engaging with to make this happen.
Thanks, Kelly, and good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to be telling you about what work we're doing to prepare and ready careers education delivery providers to support and deliver meaningful modern work experience. Firstly, to clarify, by careers education delivery providers, I'm referring to any organisation that's delivering careers provision or activities direct to schools, colleges and young people. Part of my role is to oversee a community of these providers, of which we currently have 320 members, and make sure that they're up to speed and aware of key sector changes, challenges and opportunities, but most importantly, help ensure their provision is aligned with the needs of you as educators. These providers can and should play a key role in designing and delivering modern work experience. There are, of course, several different models for ensuring young people have access to meaningful experiences. However, high-quality providers often have the capacity, knowledge and expertise to really overcome some of the barriers and challenges we're all aware of. So I thought I'd start by giving you an insight to how we currently work with our provider community and those beyond, and share those key messages and insights we need them to know. We've got just over 320 members, and they range from third sector charitable organisations to CICs, city councils and EBPs. All of them, though, offer different forms of careers provision, and we support them in 3 different ways. Firstly, through membership of that community. It's completely open access and anyone can join, and all members then receive invites to termly online events or meetings. And these always have a theme, and most recently we've covered Equalex in the past 2 sessions, our 2 most popular for a while. Secondly, we support them to promote and showcase their offer with careers hubs, schools, special schools and colleges. And we do that through our online digital directory, which I'll explain a little more about in a second, as well as our resource directory and monthly Marketplace Connect events, where we invite 4 or 5 different providers to come along and speak directly to hub leads and ECs from across the country. Through those Connect sessions alone, we've enabled 120 providers to meet with and present to careers hubs. And then finally, we communicate with them regularly through newsletters, our social media channels, and through simply meeting with them one-to-one to better understand and support their offer. In terms of upskilling the provider audience on modern work experience and Equalex, we have things we'd like them to know, understand and do. For them to most effectively and efficiently support you all and your learners, we want them to know what information you're receiving, and that includes the statutory guidance, the Gatsby benchmark updates, and the detail in the Equalex learner level objectives and outcomes. We share those with them through our written communication and back them up through our online events. It's really important that they understand the Equalex framework and what role they can play in supporting delivery. And through our events, we'll continue to build that knowledge and understanding, as well as increase our support and resources providers can use to ensure they're best placed to support modern work experience delivery. Currently, the call to action for those providers is to map their provision against the Equalex learning objectives and outcomes, to really understand where their provision might currently fit and what they may need to do to refine or develop it. We've also asked them to speak with their partner institutions about what gaps they might be finding in their delivery and to identify where they can support. It's important to say that no provider is going to be able to deliver the entirety of the Equalex framework, and their role is to ensure that their provision is enabling learners to have the opportunity to meet some of the outcomes within any of the 3 Equalex themes. Next, I wanted to highlight our digital tool, which providers can use to showcase their activities and that you can use to find local or national providers that can support you in delivery. You can search by postcode, benchmark, activity type, sector, key stage and curriculum subject. And this slide currently shows that we've got 78 providers on the directory that are offering benchmark 6 activities alone, and we're adding more every day. And then on the next slide, there's an example of a head partnership, one of the providers within the community who are currently part of our West Yorkshire provider pilot, who offer activities which meet those Gatsby Benchmark 6 meaningful definitions. We review each of the activities of providers that apply to go onto the directory against the benchmarks, and we'll advise a provider if we don't feel that it meets those guidelines. As I mentioned, the head partnership are one of the providers that are trialling delivery as part of our West Yorkshire pilot. And that pilot is a trial of provider-led activity where we're working with 4 different providers who will bring schools and employers together to benefit from work experience. As you've heard, learnings from this approach will be shared with the sector. And then I thought it was useful to share this example of activity that's being delivered as part of that pilot by a provider called C&K. We'll leave you to look through the details in terms of skills development, but this supports learners from year 9 to attend a full day activity in the workplace of a local employer, and then bookended with preparation and debrief sessions led by C&K, ensuring that the learners are meeting key Equalex outcomes. So just to summarise, alongside that West Yorkshire pilot, we'll continue to bring providers together to develop their understanding and knowledge of modern work experience and Equalex. We have a range of different tools and resources to upskill those providers and help them showcase their activities to you and careers hubs. And we're always open to understanding what further support and advice we can offer. Finally, our provider community has some clear next best steps for how they can ready themselves and best support you, with the understanding that this is a long-term and ambitious vision which won't change overnight. But I'm really confident by saying that the provider community are really willing and well placed to help with this revolutionising work experience alongside you all. I'll now hand over to Erica, who will take us through how we're readying employers.
Thanks, Cam. I'm Erica and I head up our business partnerships team, and I'm going to talk to you about how we're working with our employer and sector networks to ready them to deliver modern work experience. We currently engage employers in a variety of ways. We have strategic groups. These include a national employer advisory group with business bodies such as the Confederation of British Industry, British Chambers of Commerce and the Federation of Small Businesses, alongside sector bodies and large and small employers. We also bring together advisory groups to provide insight and work on specific projects, such as the engagement of SMEs and modern work experience. Our careers hubs each have a cornerstone employer group that represent leading employers from local growth sectors, and they work strategically with the hub on projects, advocating for more employer engagement and raising the profile of careers education, and they're currently focused on modern work experience. We ensure we have a broad engagement across multiple sectors by engaging with over 50 sector bodies, keeping them up to date on policy and best practice, and connecting their members into careers hubs. We make sure all our employers and sectors know about individual volunteering role of the enterprise advisor. Lastly, we have the Employer Standards for Careers Education, a framework and self-assessment tool that supports employers to improve the impact of their outreach. And over 1,200 employers have used this self-assessment since it launched in 2023. So to ensure those employer networks are ready to engage with and become advocates for modern work experience, we've started to raise awareness of the changes. It's essential in this messaging that employers understand that work experience no longer needs to be a block placement, that it can be delivered in flexible formats, starting early, can be for more than one young person, and that a progressive programme will mean that young people can develop the skills and behaviours that they are seeking. We will ensure that we provide resources and materials to support employers to understand how to make the experiences that they do offer meaningful and aligned to the Equalex approach. Lastly, once we've raised awareness and provided support and resources, we will ensure that employers know how to easily connect to schools through careers hubs and get started, particularly targeting those that are currently missing out. We've already started sharing the Equalex model with our employer networks, and as Sarah, who is one of our cornerstone chairs, points out, the model provides a way for all employers to engage. As part of our pilot work, we've been developing a campaign to raise awareness of modern work experience with SMEs, as they make up the large majority of businesses across England. We started by putting together an SME advisory group from our employer networks, and the group helped us to shape a brief for a campaign to engage more SMEs in work experience, specifically addressing questions of why and how. They challenged us to speak to the changemaker mentality of founders and to create something that felt less corporate and more aligned to community. The SME campaign that was developed is based on social proof, which influences your decision-making by others behaving or taking action who are similar to you. On the screen, you can see the main campaign line, "Let's make it work," and a range of lines that can be used throughout the campaign assets that will appeal to SMEs. The engagement pack is currently being piloted this summer by 2 careers hubs in West Midlands and Liverpool. The pack has a range of assets in it that can be used by careers hubs to encourage small businesses to come along to a local event where they can get support and network. This autumn, all of our careers hubs will be given access to the campaign so that they can engage more SMEs locally. When we share the slides, you'll be able to see one of the films that has been developed with Lucid Games, a small gaming company that found it really hard to offer work experience, and through support and help were able to overcome these problems. And when the campaign is shared with all hubs, there'll be films across 6 different sectors with a range of different experiences for different year groups and across mainstream and special educational needs and disabilities. So it will give a real range so that we can engage a big variety of employers. And our approach to the films has really been to embody that authenticity, warmth, spontaneity, mirroring the unpolished real-world essence of flexible workplace experiences, inspiring employers to take even a small step towards engaging with young people. Tony, if we can move on to the next slide and the next one. Oh, that video will be played with you when we share the slides. So what you can see here is that as well as the flexible model being really appealing to employers, they've also started to reference how having groups of young people can provide better use of funding and greater access for them as well. Alongside piloting how to engage more SMEs in modern work experience, we have also been piloting models of greater employer collaboration. Working with KPMG, they've invited clients to join them in delivering their opening doors to opportunity work experience days. Over 100 Year 9 students in class groups have each been given the opportunity to visit KPMG alongside another employer. In this particular pilot, that was United Airlines, Salesforce, HSBC, Canary Wharf Group or Mace. Each day, the students had a multi-sector experience aligned to the Investigate and Explore theme in Equalex, with students developing their career readiness. The model encouraged an experienced employer to share their best practice with other employers and enable schools to experience 2 sectors in one day, cutting down on travel over multiple days and allowing students to compare and contrast experiences. This model, its impact and the lessons learned by the employers will be shared more widely with our employer networks. We've also set up an advisory group on modern work experience. We know that for there to be enough employers offering experiences, we must make it as easy as possible to engage and for the benefits to those employers to be clearly articulated. As we pilot the Equalex approach and ready the system to deliver on the government's ambition, we'll work with this advisory group to ensure that we're providing the right support for employers. The group will focus on the 3 areas on the slides, and any resources and guidance or support materials will be made available to all employers nationally. Whilst we're developing the new resources with the advisory group, we have some that are already available. A starter pack that can be downloaded from our website for free for employers who have never worked with schools and colleges before. We also have, as I mentioned earlier, our employer standards for careers education to guide employers on how to ensure their engagement is impactful. Firstly, it provides a framework for employers to review the headlines and consider their work against them. On top of that, it also provides a free online self-assessment tool, which has real-time results based on answers and compares to others. Then it provides a roadmap with resources showing those employers how to improve. One of the resources that employers can gain access to after the assessment is a new guide on providing meaningful workplace experiences. This guide aims to support employers of all sizes and experience levels. The guide is aligned to the updated Gatsby benchmarks and will ensure employers are developing experiences that meet the new guidance. It includes things like inspirational videos, ready-to-use templates, project brief examples, and FAQs. So I'll now hand to Ella, who'll be able to cover how our careers hubs are supporting to ready the system.
Thanks, Erica. I'm delighted to be able to talk to you about how careers hubs are supporting to ready the system, including education institutions, employers and providers, to be able to prepare for the government's ambition of 2 weeks' worth of high quality work experience. As the majority of you will be aware, our Careers Hub network is delivered in partnership with strategic authorities, local authorities and partners to enable collaboration and facilitate progress across a number of quality measures and frameworks, including the Gatsby benchmarks, employer standards, careers impact system, and to support the adoption and usage of various digital tools, including Compass Plus and Future Skills Questionnaire, which is critical to ensure that young person's voice is central to the offer being shaped locally. As we embark upon this next phase of the development of reimagining work experience, I just wanted to reiterate that as we await further clarity on the details of the policy, this means that the support that careers hubs can offer can be nuanced based on local models of delivery. The aim is not just to tick the box, but to create meaningful, progressive experiences that build skills, raise aspiration, and connect classroom learning to the real world. But we all know the challenges: time, capacity, finding the right employer links, and ensuring quality across the board. That's where careers hubs come in. The 44 careers hubs across the country are all focused on supporting the ambition and will be prioritising the following over the next academic year and beyond. Strategic support and career and system readiness. Careers hubs are designed to support schools in getting ready, not just for this immediate goal, but for the longer term sustainable approach. They can work with you to audit your current provision, identify gaps and opportunities, and share best practice from other schools already making great progress. They'll support building employer networks and seizing opportunities. You don't have to do this alone. Careers hubs work with a vast network of employers, from enterprise advisors and cornerstone employers to local sector partnerships. They can help broker relationships, open doors, and stimulate the pipeline of meaningful work-related experiences that suit different year groups, contexts, and needs. We have invested in work experience coordination across the country, which will incrementally be rolled out over the beginning of the next academic year. The expectation is that hubs work with a small number of identified schools in the first year in their region to offer targeted interventions, such as developing a strategy and activity related to the demand, supply, quality, and process of experiences, particularly in closing the disadvantaged gap. They'll build on the foundations of the work done within schools, within the specific caseload, and support the upskilling of employers to target their approach and offer Equalex ready opportunities, creating a pipeline and helping to build longer term sustained relationships that meet the needs of businesses and institutions, and to work with providers to support their understanding of Equalex to ensure schools can commission provision aligned to their needs. Hubs are best placed to provide data, intelligence, and insights into growth sectors in your region and translate regional priorities for skills requirements that employers are looking for. Whether it's workplace visits, virtual work experience, project-based learning, or job shadowing, there are many ways to build towards that 2 weeks worth of high quality experiences creatively and effectively. They'll support using structured tools such as Equalex. Hubs will support the planning and delivery of high quality, progressive careers programmes, encouraging schools and employers to use the Equalex framework. This ensures experiences are not only engaging, but also developmentally appropriate and aligned to the Gatsby benchmarks. As previously mentioned, we have 4 advanced pilots working with us to test approaches through a range of thematic priorities, including targeting disadvantaged learners, promoting growth sectors, engaging with a local provider network, and using Equalex to promote technical and vocational pathways. The learnings from these pilots will be cascaded to the network, but I wanted to share with you some anecdotal feedback from a school in one of the pilots. The careers leader told us that she was a little unsure about her Year 7 learners going out on an experience of the workplace. She questioned if they were ready. But the experiences have been so impactful. These students were identified as disadvantaged, and the experience has been transformational for them. The students have tried to convince her to continue with their offer for them into Year 8, as they've loved it so much. So much so that they even, though the term has finished, 4 students have volunteered to be part of an employer event that is happening today, even with a super early get-up required. It's only a small step, but each one counts to make a huge difference by starting early for these young people. Quality assurance. Careers hubs are focusing support for schools, special schools and colleges through the Careers Impact System, including peer-to-peer reviews, giving you valuable insight, feedback and recommendations and helping raise standards across your careers offer. The Careers Impact System supports a quality assured, sustainable and strategic approach to careers leadership and establishes a shared and standardised language of quality improvement for careers, aligned to the school and college improvement. All hubs are engaged and equipped to support schools, special schools and colleges with the Careers Impact System, of which the internal leadership review is the first step to plan for impact. Hubs are also on hand to work with you through the revised Gatsby benchmark expectations, such as Gatsby Benchmark 6, which now incorporates a meaningful definition. They'll provide access to tools, resources, and sharing of best practice to accelerate the development of meaningful and progressive experiences. Hubs will build stakeholder trust and confidence. As the policy develops, there is an identified need to ensure that all stakeholders are brought along with us. Hubs are the conduit to ensure that national direction is implemented locally, building confidence in new ways of doing things, designing differently with a quality-first approach. And finally, they'll focus on disadvantage and equity. We know that opportunity is not equally distributed. Careers hubs help schools target support, ensuring that students from disadvantaged backgrounds or those at risk of missing out don't get left behind. That means helping to close the gap and deliver equity of access, not just volume of experiences. So to sum up, the government's ambition to provide 2 weeks' worth experience for every young person isn't just a policy target. It's a chance to reimagine how we prepare young people for the future, and careers hubs are your partner in this work. They bring local knowledge, employer links, practical tools and strategic support to help you turn ideas into everyday reality for your students. So whether you're just starting out on this journey or looking to scale up what you already do, please do get in touch with your careers hubs. Many of you will already be connected, but for anybody wanting details, they can be found on the CEC website. I'll now hand back to Nicola to walk you through how you can take steps to plan for impact.
You've heard a lot.
You're on mute, Nicola.
Sorry about that. You have heard a lot of information today, and there will be more practical advice and support to come over the next few months. You've heard today how careers hubs, providers and employers are preparing to support the new work experience guarantee. We'll also be providing some parental communications to support careers leaders to communicate Equalex and the modern work experience approaches to help with systemic behaviour change and understanding of the future. A good place to start with bringing this alive for parents and teachers alike is to watch the clip from the BBC One show, which is featured on the Careers and Enterprise Company website and will be shared alongside materials from this webinar. It's important to remember that this work is supporting the reinvention of 40 years worth of practice. The world of work has changed dramatically in 40 years, and it's right that we should be highly ambitious for young people and ensure that they have opportunities to see their line of sight for their futures. Sectors and employers know the skills gaps that they're working to for at least 2030 and beyond. To meet their needs of the workforce, they need to be able to reach, inspire, and engage with your Year 7s now. We've been trialling a number of approaches to engaging employers with Key Stage 3. We know that this is a question that careers leaders have been asking a lot at the moment since the statutory guidance was first launched. How will we engage employers with Key Stage 3? And our work that Erica has described in how we're engaging employers is really testing out some of those concepts. We've broken down a list of steps for you as schools to consider when planning for the work experience guarantee. To take a considered approach to how you build programmes which are first and foremost designed to meet the needs of every learner and to support you on this journey. As we've spoken to all the way through this webinar, this is an ambition that will show progress over time against, and it's important to take the steps to reflect, plan and deliver appropriately. But I really also want to highlight 2 key steps on this particular slide. And one of those first steps is literally don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Build on your proven elements, on what works already in your institutions, rather than starting from scratch. The steps will take you through a process of mapping and help you to identify gaps within your provision. We will, from September, start to share some really appropriate tools to help you map that provision and to help you identify gaps and start to meet those within your plans for the future. But also step 8 is really important. Take a breath and remember that this is a longer term ambition. Progress against Gatsby Benchmark 6 is the starting point for progress against this particular policy. So we've worked these steps up into a journey for you to follow, which takes you from the government ambition for all learners to the point at which learners meet the Equalex learning outcome. And we're just going to run through those steps now on this particular slide. And I think it's really important to think about how we take a journey from the vision, which is all learners accessing high quality work experiences, into a series of the development of goals where all learners access 5 days across Key Stage 3 and 5 days of Key Stage 4. That we review our current practice using the tools provided for you that have been tested and are rigorous in their intent by completing an internal leadership review and focusing really specifically on theme 5, which relates to work experience. And then you are in a situation where you can identify and map where learners currently have access to workplace experiences that can be linked all the way back to and across your curriculum offer, identifying gaps as you go. Once we've undertaken the mapping process, we can think to plan about what our future programmes need to offer to drive workplace experiences into the gaps of young people. And we take action by making progress against Gatsby Benchmark 6. In the long term, following this process will allow us to deliver equitable work experience models in our institutions, ultimately with the goal of meeting the government's work experience guarantee. But the long-term outcome of success is where young people achieve the Equalex learning outcomes and where all young people achieve those outcomes, thus increasing their employability skills, improving their career readiness, and as a side to that, supporting wider benchmark achievement overall. So we have a series of support that's available to you now, and we have one final slide to share with you, which summarises how the CEC can help. So there is a set of support and resources that are available for you to access now, and those are in multiple different formats. So we have updated benchmark toolkits, which are linked directly out of the statutory guidance document, and they're also available in our resource directory. We have a new guide, which is building meaningful experiences into progressive careers programmes, which show a structure of how to approach this piece of work to ensure that your programme is progressive from year 7 through to year 11. As I referenced at the beginning, we have a set of frequently asked questions. We'll be updating that following this webinar, and we'll be sharing those on our website, and then we will continue to update those frequently asked questions each month. So it really is worth checking back on those on a fairly frequent basis. On our Careers and Enterprise Academy, that's where we offer our CPD and resource development for careers leaders in the system. And over time, we will be updating the Careers and Enterprise Academy with information, learning and development around how to approach the building of a new workplace experience offer. That will predominantly be developed through the voice of practitioners. As Kelly mentioned, we have a full set of Equalex learner-facing outcomes, which have now been tested by education and are ready to be delivered for modern work experience. And of course, we have the national webinar today. Watch out for the recording. We'll be publishing that on our website and sending it out to registered participants. In the not too distant future, we will continue to add delivery models to our website and our resource directory that are being developed and tested by multi-academy trusts and by the schools that are working in the authorities undertaking advanced pilots. But we're building a bank of case studies and examples from all over the country, from activity that is being developed and tested in every region of the country. We will have an excellent seminar across the course of the year for both educators and employers, highlighting best practice in this space. And then later in the autumn, we'll be launching a Wexcast, a new podcast series decoding policy, spotlighting practice, and equipping stakeholders for success. The audience targeted through the new podcast will be wide-ranging, so there will be content for educators, employers, parents, providers, and we will also have some young people delivered content in that podcast as well. So as we wrap up this afternoon's session, we hope that you have found that useful. We hope that you've been able to submit any questions that you have through the Q&A function on the Zoom webinar this afternoon. We'll review those in the course of the next couple of days and make sure that all questions are answered and sent out to you through the registration channels. But for the time being, thank you for joining, thank you for listening, and we hope that you all have a really restful and enjoyable summer break. Thank you.